Le condizioni dei civili dell'Afghanistan sono state quasi completamente dimenticate a partire dal 2021, dopo il ritiro delle forze statunitensi occidentali dal paese. Soprattutto le condizioni di donne e bambine sono cadute in un buco nero mediatico e politico. La situazione delle bambine e delle donne è tragica in Afghanistan, da quando il regime talebano ha ripreso il potere. Non possono più studiare dopo la primaria, la scuola elementare. Le donne e le ragazze non possono uscire di casa, devono essere sempre accompagnate da una sorta di guardiano, da un familiare maschio. Non possono quindi muoversi, visitare un parco naturale, un sito culturale. Il regime talebano ha emanato delle leggi terribili, soprattutto l'ultimo decreto che dice che le mogli possono essere picchiate dai mariti a loro discrezione. Pashtana Dorani è una giovane donna afghana, un'attivista, una femminista. Ha fondato Learn Afghan, una rete di scuole clandestine che permette alle ragazze afghane di continuare a studiare in almeno 18 province del paese asiatico. La sua organizzazione offre un'istruzione di alto livello attraverso corsi digitali, programmi radio, tutoraggio e in entrambe le lingue del paese, in Pashtu e in Dari. Sono Francesca Lancini, questo è Soul Digger e oggi sono molto felice di intervistare Pashtana Dorani. Welcome Pashtana Dorani. Thank you to talk with me. You said that studying is a human and fundamental right and you can't study in isolation. But Taliban regime prohibits girls from studying and women from working, from doing so many things. I have some questions for you for revolutionary interviews, my column. Pashtana, can you tell us what Learn Afghan is and when and why you founded it?
Thank you, Francesca, first of all, for having me and for this interview. I think it's a great opportunity for me to highlight my work for your audience. I do agree. Learning is a communal act of resistance against injustice, illiteracy, and unfair anything in the world, not just for Afghans, but just humans in general. Learn was founded on that fundamental right. When I was young, my own cousin was not able to go to school because she didn't have access to learning spaces, but she learned at home and she was very good at it. She was a super smart student. So for me, the first thing was to ask why she was not able to access that learning. And what I got to know was there's a lot of corruption involved. There's a lot of actors, apart from the Taliban, involved in ensuring that girls stay out of school. But the Taliban also bombed schools. They threw acid in women's faces, and then they ensured that teachers were actually traumatized for working in schools. So Learn was founded out of that necessity. My community as a refugee had access to education. When I returned to my own homeland, they didn't have access to that education. I was young, I was a teenager. I was also very, very entitled. And I was like, you know what? We're going to work on our own. We're not going to wait for the rest of the world to come and rescue us. We're going to do our own rescuing. And that's how Learn was founded in 2018, November. And since then, we have been on a journey to educate students and kids around the world. Yeah.
I read about your family. I read that in the refugee camp near Quetta in Pakistan, when you were a child, your father founded a school, and your mother and your aunt were teachers there.
That's why I'm saying is learning is communal. My grandmother, she never went to formal schooling, but she learned Pashto, Dari, and Arabic and Quran Sharif from her community and her women in her community. And when she was dying, she used to recite the Holy Quran and she used to recite the poetry of Rumi, and the poetry of Hamza Baba. And my mom and my aunt went through a similar learning system. My mom did go to school, my aunt did go to school, but for them, learning was a communal act. Like they sat with other girls and studied. So for me, when I was growing up, I saw young girls in my house being educated all the time. So for me, it was very normal to just open your book and be studying all the time, not just in a specific school time. And that's one of the reasons that my family was not only a place where I learned that, but I think definitely a source of inspiration, a source of service membership, like where I felt like I need to serve my community just like my father did. And I'm very grateful for that. I think that was a great sense of learning for you.
How was your childhood in the refugee camp? Can you tell us about Afghan children in the refugees camp?
Sure. I always talk about my childhood in a more profound way because my father was a tribal leader, and I was very privileged. I grew up in a very beautiful house. I had a lot of access to a lot of things. I went to a very good school. We had a school at home. We were well provided for. However, children around the refugee camp, the best my father could do is like give his house in service so that young girls can be educated in the house. My aunt would fight with some of the community men who wouldn't allow the girls to go to school. I remember this one time my aunt just held my hand and went to this house, and she was like, bring out the guy who is not letting the nephew go to school. And they were like, oh, he's not home. And he was just hiding from my aunt. The reason was my aunt was like, you cannot stop a girl from going to school. You're not entitled to that. And she literally threatened him and by force made that guy ensure that the girl goes to school. So I grew up with that. But we also had fun time. Like I remember when we were young, we would go around the village and just like do a picnic session. We would just bring in snacks and eat them, and that was the best joy we could have. But of course, we were refugees, and the girls and the young boys were refugees. And there were times where young girls were married. I had another Pashtana, similar name like mine. She was our neighbor, and she was married off when we were 9. My dad would always make fun of me. He would be like, if you don't study hard like Pashtana, the other one, we're going to exchange you for her. And I was like, I don't want to live in their house. So I would like always cry about it. And he would like, if you don't do your polio vaccination, we're going to exchange you for her. So I would always like hate her so much. But then at the age of 9, she was married off as a child bride. Different instances, a lot of women went through a lot of things in Afghanistan and in the refugee camp because they were Afghan girls and children. But there were also places of like hope where my father would hold my hand every morning and take me to plant trees or go through like the grapes vineyards or the vines. So good and bad, but overall I definitely had a very lovable childhood. Yeah.
You went to Afghanistan in 2016, is it correct? Yes, and was it your first time in Afghanistan, maybe? Yes.
Yes, it was.
What kind of country have you found in 2016? A freer country, maybe, despite the war, after many years of NGOs project and foreign presence, maybe Afghanistan was changing?
I have to be very transparent. Afghanistan was also abused in the past 20 years when even the foreign influence was there. A lot of human rights were abused. I always want to make sure that we remember that part. But the overall narrative and the overall reality is when you entered Afghanistan as an Afghan citizen, as an Afghan woman, you had the equal right to go to a public school like the men and boys in Afghanistan. You had a constitutional right that enabled you to go to school and get free education up until graduate level. That was a constitutional right. We don't have that. Women were recognized as part of Afghanistan. We don't have that. Women are not even second-class citizens at this point. They're seen as slaves. Apart from that, we also celebrated sense of freedom when it came to work. Women worked. 30% of the workforce was women. Women were in parliament, in politics, good or bad. There were a lot of corrupt politicians and all of that. I want to make sure that that's always remembered. But women had a chance at a better life, which we don't right now. And honestly, for me, as an Afghan girl returning to Afghanistan, after years of discrimination as a refugee, once we were moved to the city, it was a happy moment for me. It was a beautiful moment for me. Yes, Afghanistan is not developed like the European countries, but Afghanistan is beautiful. It's gorgeous. You enter the country, we have deserts, we have mountains, we have lakes, we have the fifth national park in Central Asia, we have the best grapes, we have the best raisins. We have roses in December. Like I remember I went to my uncle's house and there were literally roses blooming in December. It's a beautiful country. We had women who would go to salons. We had people, we had universities that would educate young girls and women, you know. We had girls and women going to work, and none of that exists anymore. So it was definitely a freer Afghanistan. I wish it was sustained in a different way where not so many lives were lost, not so much abuse had to happen, and still continues to happen.
Yeah. And in which city you were living in Afghanistan?
So I am from Afghanistan. I'm from Kandahar, Afghanistan. And when Afghanistan fell, I was in Kandahar, and I was living in Kandahar before I moved to Kabul.
And after the 2021 US forces, Western forces left, Afghanistan changed a lot after the Taliban regime took power again.
Yeah. I mean, after 2021, we lost the right to constitution, which is basically a Bible, a holy book for a country. It's the soul of a country. We don't have that anymore. A regime took over parts and lands of Afghanistan, and now it doesn't recognize the population of Afghanistan. Um, and it definitely changed. I remember I was talking to one of my friends who I used to work with, and he was like, Afghanistan doesn't feel like Afghanistan anymore. Kandahar doesn't feel like Kandahar anymore. Not because the Western forces left, no, but because the fact that the soul of Afghanistan, the constitution of Afghanistan, the women of Afghanistan were shunned, were removed, and a regime felt like they are the only one in charge for this country.
Today, the situation is very awful, I think, very sad for children, for women, for girls. Why have you found this organization, this net, underground schools and many other types of learning?
So, when in 2018, we did that because my community was internally displaced people within Afghanistan and didn't have access to learning spaces. So we came up with the idea of Learn. After 2021, Learn became a place for the whole country's girls to get educated beyond grade 6. And that's one of the reasons we have made sure that when we started in 2021 with the secret schools, we had one school. We launched in September, and we had the news out in October on Girl Child Day, and it was only 100 kids and a few teachers. Today we have 20 schools. As of this morning, I talked to my team. We have 20 schools. We have around 3,000 students getting educated in Afghanistan from grade 7 to grade 12, all young girls. Apart from that, we're focusing on radio lessons, we're focusing on offline apps, we're also focusing on other science projects that we are doing right now. All in all, is to say, we have to ensure that young girls stay in school because these young girls will be leading Afghanistan someday. It's not going to be this regime in power all the time. And these young girls have the right to education just like any other person because they are daughters of Afghanistan. And we have to ensure that access continues. And that's why I do what I do. And also, I love Afghanistan. So why not? Almost. 3/4 of the country. We're expanding and hoping by the end of May, we might be in all Afghanistan. For now, we're in 20 provinces out of the 34 provinces.
We know about very rigid and awful decrees like women can't go to school after the grade 6, can't go to university, they can't work outside home, they can't go out without a male, a guardian. Mm-hmm. How your secret schools are working? How do you attract girls, children, and maybe convince the families?
I think for me, the goal has always been very clear. I don't necessarily go to communities and tell them to educate girls. Communities come to us and ask us for a space, a learning space. The reason is very simple. The people of Afghanistan, learning is communal. if learning is safe, why would not somebody send their daughter to school? One reason that in the past somebody might have resisted for major part is because of insecurity. Some of them might have different values and ideas, which is understandable. um, and I cannot sort of contradict that or fight them on that. That's a way of thinking. But I come from the school of thought where I'm like, if somebody's coming and asking me for help, if I have the resources, why not help them? And that's how all our schools have been founded in all these provinces. We opened the school in Kandahar because the students in Kandahar wanted to continue. We got a call from Bamyan, their community wanted a similar thing. We got a call from Tahar, a similar thing. And now I have met parents of these students. I have met parents of teachers. I have met these teachers and students even last year. All in all, to say is communities believe in the need for education, in the access for education for their daughters. And that's how we make it possible. So for me, I don't go as a project just because I have 7,000 or 8,000 or 9,000 people to educate. I'm going to go into this community and educate them and then leave when the project funding is ending. No, for me, if you come to me, I have to give you my word. And then we are going to stand up until the end to ensure that the girls get to graduate grade 12 and they end up in a good place where they can work, they can study, even if it's limited and even if it's hard. We do our best to ensure that learning and earning is continued.
So we can say, or we must say, that Afghan people are not Taliban. The mentalities are different now. Can you explain this situation?
I think reducing Afghans to the Taliban mentality won't be fair to the people of Afghanistan, of course. And I think the world knows that there is a very huge difference on how amazing Afghans are when it comes to learning. We are one of the ancient civilization. We have been around for 5,000 years. We were around even when Alexander the Great was like roaming the world. We were around, and even before that. And the fun thing about Afghanistan is the women of Afghanistan have been very fierce, very literate and educated. And it's not just for now or for the past 20 years, for thousands of years. There are women like Rokhshana, who challenged Alexander the Great, to Gauhar Shad Begum, who was building universities and minarets in Herat, to Malika Suraya, who made sure that the king recognizes women and men equal in Afghanistan almost 120, 30 years ago, where the European countries and the West was still fighting on the right to vote for women. So, because we have been around, we have done all of this, people have an understanding that learning is not just in school. It is a reality. We all have to learn all the time. Second thing is, Taliban claim that it's our culture to not educate our girls, which for me is so funny because it's just a few 70,000 men who think like that, who are educated, by the way, in other refugee camps in madrasas, and they think that what they know is applicable to everyone. But people of Afghanistan are smart, they're educated, and yes, they're very welcoming of education. I have met fathers of girls who would drive 2,000 kilometers just with their daughters to get access to a conference, you know. I have met people who have literally left Afghanistan so that their daughters can be educated in Iran and Pakistan. I had my father who would move mountains for me to get access to education. So lots of great example, Francesca. But all in all to say, we value education, we value our daughters, and I think that's a common belief among all ethnicities, yes.
Did you find anyone against your project, against your schools in Afghanistan?
Oh yes, all the time.
Who?
I mean, a few years ago, I was on an interview, and there was a Talib leader, and I said that girls cannot go to school, and he just started screaming at me and yelling, and he was like, "Oh no, you're lying! This is propaganda. Girls are going to school." And I was like, "Okay, prove it." While his own son, while his own daughter was going to school in Qatar. These are people who clearly say that I am not, the work that I do is basically not existing. I have met community members who don't approve of their daughters going to school. for different reasons, for security reasons, for values reasons. And that's understandable. I try to dialogue with them. I tell them that God has intended for all genders to learn, to study, to pray. And that's how we should be doing. And if He doesn't discriminate, who are we to discriminate? Sometimes we have cultural dialogues. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But majority of the time, people are kind and compassionate. They love their kids. So it works out. Yeah.
Is there any risk for women and girls going to school, teaching?
Oh yes, we had one of our teachers was arrested. One of my family member was tortured and arrested for 6 months and kept in prison. Yes, there are risks. I don't want to deny that or turn a blind eye on that. I have lost many nights being on the phone trying to understand where my family is or where my teachers are during that time. Yes, it's not an easy path because education is banned. It's a literal ban.
Yeah.
And anyone who works against it is literally disobeying the supreme leader. I'm supposed to be someone who has disobeyed the supreme leader in my own country, according to them. All in all, to say, yes, there are risks. There are risks in educating people, there are risks in teaching students. And yes, we have faced those risks. We have people who got arrested just being associated with me. We had people who taught in our schools, and have been arrested, have been tortured, have been interrogated, have been held in custody for months and months. Yeah.
Are there any political prisoners, political activists in prison because they were working for you, with you?
Not political activists.
Not.
Our work is clearly very non-political. It's a fundamental human right. But people who work with me, my co-workers, who are not activists, who are just people, who are teachers, have been arrested, have been tortured. Yes.
Yes. How many do you have?
For the ones that got arrested were two, a male and a female, and it was almost 6 months for us to figure it out.
If the Taliban discover your secret school, can be dangerous.
Yes. That's how they discovered it in Helmand, and then they tortured and imprisoned and arrested our people. And we went through a whole process where they tried to pin us as spies or as people who furthered Christianity or blasphemy and stuff. And then none of those stick. So then they said, you're disobeying the supreme leader, which I'm like, I'm glad I'm doing that. But yeah, people who were in prison, they went through a very rigorous, torturous time. Yeah.
Teachers and students are very brave, you said, and resilient.
We don't have any other choice. We have to be brave. I have to do this because if I don't do this, I don't think the next generation is going to forgive us for not doing something about it. So I don't have any choice but to be brave, I don't have any other choice but to be resilient. I cry about it, yes. I have cried about it like day before yesterday. It can get hectic. There's a lot of times where we lose funding. There are a lot of times where people don't care about Afghanistan. There are a lot of times where insecurity makes us stop the school for a few days. But the one thing I'm sure about is now the people I work with are amazing people, kind people, brave people. And they believe in a better Afghanistan, and that's what we are all doing.
Amazing. So your approach is holistic. Learn Afghan is focusing on education, healthcare, and innovation. Why? Healthcare is very important to be a good student.
I think the fundamental right to access education is when you come from a healthy family and when your mom is healthy. I think that's the most important thing. What we have seen is time and time again, if you're a young daughter, if your mom is not well, then you end up taking care of the kids. You lose your learning time to that. Everybody else moves on with their life, and you, because you were being a second mother, you lost that. So what we tend to do is we ensure that each community not only has access to education but also has access to clinics where the women, the mothers, can go in for checkups, for prenatal, postnatal health care. And then the young girls get access to menstrual hygiene management, menstrual hygiene education. And last but not the least, now we're also incorporating mental health into this because, again, Afghanistan is one of the countries with highest depression rates for women, highest female suicide rate. And yes, we can educate them, but we also need to take care of them so that they feel as a holistic individual who is taken care of physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I think education, healthcare, and mental health all hand in hand can take care of all of that. Can we change the whole regime? No, we cannot. Can we make it easier for the women living under that regime to understand how to regulate themselves when they're anxious, when they're going under a depressive episode? Maybe. So I would like to approach that. So that's why healthcare is important. It's a cornerstone, especially in a country where so many women are malnourished, so women have iron deficiencies, and so many women are taking care of like huge households.
Yes, and I read a very interesting article in your website about the period, the stigma about the period, menstruations.
I think the reality is it's just something that people don't like to talk about. I think it's just icky. Like, very clear, transparently, when we send humanitarian aid in Afghanistan, when an earthquake happens or a flooding happens, a few months ago it happened in Kunar. I was very keen on sending menstrual hygiene pads and underwear garments, and nobody was ready to touch that because they're like, we don't want to do that. What if we are caught with it? The Taliban are going to see this as something that shouldn't be given out in humanitarian aid. And for me, it's just something that is very natural, that is something that women deal with. And the least we could do is give a woman who was just like, in an earthquake, lost everything, have access to sanitary pads or an undergarment. So I don't think I am fighting a stigma against a society. I think we're just fighting the whole argument of women existing, women bleeding, women getting educated, women learning and being. And the biggest part is that they also bleed and they need sanitary pads, and a lot of people are not comfortable with it, and we kind of have to push them to be comfortable with it. So
are you focusing on innovation? So Corrado Campisi, an Italian teacher, he made me in contact with you. I've read that you are working on STEM disciplines. Why did you choose science topics for your students?
I think science is natural. I think women are very scientific. We just tend to, we were left out of that race because it became like a male centric thing. There are a lot of other amazing men in Afghanistan that teach our students robotics right now. So our innovation is mainly to ensure that girls are in touch with their scientific side of things. So we work with robotics class right now where young girls are coming up with like small robots. We're hoping that they can like work in the prosthetic limb industry because Afghans have been affected so much by the mines and everything around them. A lot of them have lost their limbs. So this could be a very useful space for young Afghan girls to break into. Apart from that, we're working with AI right now, and we're hoping that we can educate young girls on AI, and at some point we can build our own LLM, the large language model. And last but not the least, right now, because of our STEM classes, we have almost 15 girls enrolling in our midwifery classes. They were bright, they were smart, they passed their grade 12, and now they are enrolling in our midwifery secret classes where they will serve their communities as midwives. And then apart from that, we will have another batch of young girls who will be mental health practitioners. So they will do their own education for the next 18 months, and then they will transition into becoming mental health practitioners for their communities. And that's all because of science. That's biology, and hopefully with the tech part and innovation part, we will have LLM and AI and all the other stuff figured out too.
And you sent me some videos of your students, girls, talking about the their dreams, their experience, also with the project of a Campisi teacher. Can you tell us about this project that you are doing together?
So Corrado, I have known him for quite some time now, and he does all the amazing things, and he has been so generous and kind, not only to the our students, but I think girls of Afghanistan in general. He has been working on projects for almost, I think, 4 years now, and I have always heard of him. I met with him earlier last year, and he has come up with an idea where he's working with students in Scotland and in Italy, where they are all going to be working on a STEM project, and they're going to be sending a stratospheric balloon, correct me if I'm wrong, Corrado, sorry, into the space. And it's a collective project, and it's going to have like a learning component to it, and our students are actually contributing to it. So it's a big source of joy for us. But also, girls feel part of a global team that is based in Italy and in Scotland, and they also feel like that's amazing that teachers in Italy haven't forgotten them, that they remember them. So that's our project. There are a lot of details that are going to go into that. But all in all, to say is Corrado was someone who made sure that all of this falls in place, and he's an amazing person. Yeah.
I would like to ask you about the current situation. We are reading news on the new conflict between Pakistan and Taliban, Afghanistan. How do you see this new conflict, we can say?
I mean, all in all, to say Afghanistan doesn't have aerial support, it doesn't have ammunition, it's not allowed to buy more ammunition, the Taliban regime. So they are going to probably counter the attack on Afghanistan with terrorism in Pakistan, which again, Pakistan supported it for the longest time in the past 2 decades, and now it's their own monster that is just attacking them again. Pakistan, on the other hand, is trying to say that, oh, they're fighting terrorism, but in the end, they made sure that this regime takes over. What is happening is lives are at stake. Afghan refugees are stuck in Pakistan. They're getting tortured. They're denied boarding the flights, but they're also denied to stay in Pakistan. So they don't know what to do. And there are people in Afghanistan who are getting attacked through missiles, through drone attacks by Pakistanis, and people have lost families to it. So that's the reality. Whereas Pakistan, I think, still has to figure out its relationship with the current regime because it's affecting civilians more, and the Taliban are not able to protect the current civilians at all.
And this conflict is very near to the Iran crisis. How do you see these conflicts, different conflicts, very close in a region that bordering Afghanistan?
I think with Iran, it's a little different because Iran right now is in its own international conflict. Pakistan and Afghanistan would have gotten a lot of attention if Iran was not attacking like so many countries, and so many countries were not attacking Iran. Right now, the Afghanistan-Pakistan conflict is completely reduced to non-existent, whereas real lives are being taken away every day. Again, even with Iran, Afghanistan is still losing because we have Afghan civilians that are stuck in Iran waiting for visas, working in Iran, and now Iran is going to come back at these countries and at these civilians and be like, oh, you are spies or you are people who are enabling civilian unrest and stuff like that. So it's a lost situation for Afghans in Iran and Pakistan, both.
We see women fighting, young fighting for a new life, freedom.
I think with Pakistan, it's now a military sort of complex. Civilians in Pakistan don't have the right, or they're under an illusion that they have a right. It will take some time for them to understand the reality. But then again, I think now people in Pakistan are waking up to the reality and sort of understanding, yes, women in Pakistan also don't have that same kind of rights, and they're protesting too, and they're asking for real rights, real democratic rights. And there are a lot of human rights activists that are also arrested in Pakistan for just criticizing the government.
What do you hope for the near future or for the future?
Peace. Peace, I think, is something I never thought I would be hoping for, because I always thought, oh, war will just continue. I think now I'm in a place in my life where I have grown tired of the reality of the world. I want to be an optimist. I want to see more peaceful places. I want to be home, walk through my lands, be with my mother, hug her one more time, not be worried about things, be go to school and teach my students, talk to my siblings, joke with my brother. Um, but a more peaceful world, a less burning world, a more safe world for young kids and children, a more better world for women. I guess it's asking a lot, but that's my hope.
Do you think Taliban regime can fall?
I hope so. I really hope so. I hope anyone unjust and unfair to its own people should fall in any part of the world, yeah, including the Taliban.
What can we do? Also, other countries, not only the Afghan people.
People of Afghanistan have fought for the world against terrorism. They gave their sons, their daughters, their homes, their lives. They live in exile. They live in graves. They don't have lives anymore because the world thought Afghanistan will be a place to fight terrorism. And then Afghans paid the price. So I think the people of Afghanistan right now showing up, existing, studying, learning, breathing is a big act of resistance. People of Afghanistan are so tired of war, so tired of war. The world, on the other hand, I think should remember the people of Afghanistan, the women of Afghanistan, the young girls of Afghanistan, because this is not something that has happened 100 years ago. This is happening right now. It's an active thing where your daughter might be able to go to school today, but thousands of daughters in Afghanistan cannot. And that should be heartbreaking for anyone. That should be heartbreaking for anyone, whatever your political views are, whatever your thoughts and faiths and values are. That's heartbreaking. No child should be left and be seen as othered when it comes to learning, when it comes to women and people of Afghanistan. So I think the international community should think of sustainable investment spaces where if they're sustaining Afghanistan and they're sustaining investments in Afghanistan, it should go into models that really work for Afghanistan, that really educate the people of Afghanistan without appeasing the Taliban. Like the Taliban shouldn't be appeased at any point, and the world should make a point of it. I think the world should hold the Taliban accountable, even if it's hard. Um, Instead of sanctioning Afghanistan, sanction the Taliban leaders. Ask your representatives, ask your taxpayers for your taxpayers' money. You know, you paid so many taxes to be sent to Afghanistan. Now follow up on that. Ask your representatives, your politicians and leaders, where did that money go to? And now why are we not holding these people in power accountable? So all of those acts are acts of resistance by the international community and the world. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pashtana. I'm very grateful for this interview, and I hope to see you and again, maybe in Italy. Maybe are you traveling around in this period?
Yeah, I definitely will be traveling to Europe. Hopefully, I'll end up in Italy and meet you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and
Take
good
care.
luck.
Bye.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, this is Mujda, a Learn Afghan student. When education is restricted for girls, the damage is not only for today, it shapes the future. With continued restrictions, gender discrimination, and violence will shape a tragic future. A generation deprived of education. In a few years, we may see a society without female doctors, teachers, lawyers, journalists, psychologists, and other things. Okay, what will happen then? In a community where religions behave strong and many families do not allow women to seek help from men, who will women turn to? If a woman faces a problem she cannot share with a man, what choice will she have? The painful answer is silence. Many will accept it as a fact, and as a result, mental deaths and surfing among women may continue to rise. This is frightening, but it's very real. Fear, social judgment, insecurity around the man, lack of confidence, and lack of awareness, all of these grow stronger under the gender discrimination. And when discrimination becomes normal, violence follows. Thank you.
When girls are banned from education, it's not protection, it's punishment. A society does not grow by shaking the dreams of its daughters. It weakens itself. Education is not a gift handed down by permission. It's a basic human right recognized across the world. When that right is taken away, it's not only a classroom that falls silent, it's fairness, dignity, and hope. You speak of tradition and values, but fear is not a value. Silence is not a strength. A nation cannot stand tall while forcing half of its people to kneel. I am not dangerous because I seek knowledge. I am not a threat because I ask questions. Book do not destroy countries. Operation does. When girls are denied secondary and higher education, the future is denied with them. Doctors, teachers, leaders, erased before they are allowed to begin. Yet we learn and we inspire. We study and hide in corners. We refuse to disappear. You may lock the doors of our schools, but you cannot lock the doors of our minds. And history will remember who feared education and who fought for it.
Hello everyone. Today I want to mention some harsh challenges of Afghan girls. I'm one of the girls who had to stop attending school in person. When school closed for girls, it was very painful for me, and I felt like my dreams were suddenly paused, and I lose my classrooms, my teachers, and my friends. Now I continue studying online. It gives me hope, even though the situation is hard or difficult. I try not to give up. Education means everything for me, and it gives me confidence and a reason to believe in my future. Afghan girls don't want to lose their education. We want the chance to learn, to grow, and to achieve our goals. I still hope that one day all girls in Afghanistan return to school freely and continue their education without any fear. Thank you for your listening.
Hello everyone, I hope you all doing well. Today I want to talk about the importance of education for girls. I am a Learn Afghan student, grade 11. Banning girls and women from secondary and higher education is a clear violation of human rights because education is a fundamental right for every human being. When this right is taken away, women lose the opportunity to learn, become independent, and make decisions about their own lives. In the city where I live, many women can believe that violence against them is normal and think they must accept it simply because they are women. This mindset is the result of long-term lack of education and awareness. For example, when a baby becomes sick and refuses breast milk, and instead of visiting a doctor, their families may take the child to their religion figure who claims the mother milk is harmful. And this shows how lack of education affects families' health and decision. Violating the right to education does not only harm individuals, it allows ignorance to continue across generations. That's why education matters. It helps women understand their value and their rights and create a healthier society.